Who went to public school? Okay, yeah, so I also went to public schools. The alternative choice, charter schools. Does everyone know what a charter school is? Okay, so some. Charter schools are public schools that are funded by a per student fee in addition to public funding, just like public schools. Charter schools have gained a lot of popularity lately since their controversial inception in 1992. They've grown exponentially. Wendy Schwartz, published in the Eric Clearinghouse on Urban Education, said in 1996 there were about 350 charter schools, whereas now the most recent data I could find was from 2012-2013 school year. There's nearly 6,000 charter schools, according to the U.S. News. So charter schools have no school management, safety, or state testing regulations like public schools do. As well, according to Rand Education in 2009, they do not have to obey discrimination regulations and have been shown to increase racial and ethnic stratification. Charter schools are also exempt from teacher certification regulations, reported by Huxbury and Rockoff in an article published in Harvard University. That means anyone can be a teacher at a charter school. You don't have to go to school for 5 years like myself to do that. So you may not currently have children. I'm sure many of you don't, but one day you may, and you'll have to choose how to educate them. So what do? What is the best for, what's best for our students overall? So my suggestion, go public with your students' education choices. So we need to support our public schools. Since the creation of charter schools, they have decreased funding for public schools, limited student populations by becoming an alternative choice for students beyond those needing that assistance. Schwartz, published again in Eric Clearinghouse, also said charter schools were created to assist students in poor areas with poor resources and overcrowded schools. However, they've lost that motivation to help students and have left taking the best and brightest from public schools. Seymour Sarson from the Teachers College Press stated that President Nixon's experimental schools program was a precursor to charter schools, and that was a disaster. So the charter school movement now has to be careful not to end up in that same Our students need a safe, supportive, and challenging learning environment ran by respectful citizens that care. An article published in the American Education Finance Association states charter schools may diminish the quality of traditional public schools by drawing away funding, motivated students, and/or quality teachers. And from the 2009 article in Rand Education, charter schools could have great benefits, like expanded options for students, increased innovation by educators, and possibly improved student achievement. However, due to the lack of regulations on charter schools, they have quickly become a flawed concept, according to Sarson in the Teacher's Journal in 1999. So observe this pie chart from the Center of Public Education in 2010. 37% of charter schools are being outperformed by public schools. Even though it is a goal of charter schools at their creation to do better than public schools, only 17% actually are, and that's not even by that much. So just think about it this way. Do you want your students to have a well-rounded and established education? I assume yes. Or do you want them to send them to an institution ran by public authorities and, according to the study from the American Education Finance Association, has a high turnover rate and will charge you more for less academic growth? It is unknown what exactly would happen to public schools if charter schools were the norm. However, for students in poverty, which is a sufficient amount of the population, they would be forced to stay in public schools due to the extra fees associated with attending a charter school. And again, according to Wendy Schwartz from the Eric Clearinghouse, there is a general representation of students in more privileged families in charter schools. So meaning charter schools are filled with the more privileged, better off students, leaving public schools for the students in poverty. So like I said, my suggestion for you is to go public with your students' education choices. Overall, the charter school concept is flawed, and public schools is what the best option for your students is right now.